Welcome back to the Paradigm Project. Today we are here with a new host.
Woo woo.
Going to take my job so that I can move on to other things. This is Michael Scott. Just kidding.
So close and yet so far.
What is your last name?
Clark.
Yeah, Michael
Got
Clark.
Michael Clark. My goodness.
Clark
I
on
think
the
so.
podcast.
That'd be a fun conversation.
No, but Michael is a junior here at Paradigm, and we are happy to have him on. He's going to be replacing Daniel as our second host. So we're happy to have you here. We're going to talk a little bit about some really cool stuff today and get into some interesting topics.
I don't think it's really replacing. You can't replace me.
No, nobody can replace you,
Daniel is
Daniel.
irreplaceable.
Amen. We love you.
Might cry.
I will cry.
We can all just have like a cry session.
That
There we go,
works.
on the
I think,
podcast.
I think that's
You know what?
great.
That'd be a really
We'll
good
just have an in
podcast.
between episodes.
Let's cry
just
in
like
3, 2,
sobbing
1.
noises.
Alrighty, so Michael, who are you? What do you like
Up
to
until
do?
like 5 seconds ago, I was crying. This is a scary question, you know? You always have this kind of sense of existential crisis as soon as I'm asked who I am. But, yeah, my name is Michael. I've been a Paradigm for maybe a year and a semester now. It's been a fantastic experience. I'm so grateful for my time here. I've been able to participate in so many great conversations, and I'm so excited to be part of more great conversations here on the podcast.
Heck yeah.
What's your favorite color?
Answer this right, Michael. You know the answer.
This question
There is
carries
a right
more
answer.
weight than the whole, like, Michael, who are you question.
There's a correct answer, and you need to answer it correctly.
I think
Otherwise,
we
you're
both
off the
know
podcast.
what the correct answer is.
Right.
It's purple.
It's true. You're outvoted, Daniel. It's purple.
Jake's right here producing. Let's see what he thinks. Purple, thumbs up. Purple, thumbs down.
Jake, you know what you have to do.
Haha, you were
Yeah.
outvoted 3-1.
That's not fair. That is
Oof,
not fair.
that's rough,
I
buddy.
feel-
Well, what do you
it's
think
pretty
is
I'm
the-
leaving.
That's
You guys
more
are
rough.
bullying me right now.
What do you think is the best color?
It doesn't even matter anymore. Let's just move
It
on.
matters
I
to
don't
me,
care.
Daniel.
I don't care.
That's really
I'm over
unfortunate.
it. I'm over it.
We're
You know
taking away
what?
your representation. You know what?
So just get out
You guys
right
can have
now.
purple if you want. I don't care, okay?
No.
No, tell us. What
No,
do
I
you
don't
tell
care anymore.
for the
Nope,
listeners?
I don't care.
You don't care
I
about our
refuse.
listeners?
Yep.
That's really awkward.
To be fair, it is the last episode.
You should
I'm over
you
it.
Go
I'm
out
over
with a
them.
bang.
I'm over them.
We should probably move on.
You know, Daniel, we'll never be over you.
I will never be over you, Daniel.
Insert crying noises. Just kidding.
Anyways,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michael,
We are back.
we're back.
let's see.
Back in black. Or something like that. I don't know.
This is so scary.
All right.
Oh, goodness.
What else do you want
Anyways.
to know about Michael?
What's one of your favorite books you've read at Paradigm so far? It sounded so sad. Anyways.
That's a good question. I know a book I read fairly recently. Is The Lonesome Gods by Louis L'Amour. And it's difficult for me to determine my favorite book if I'm a favorite child, which is not something I really know about anyways. But it's something that, anyways, let me get out of that bit.
Yeah.
Always. No, we'll fix it in post. That's the...
So a book that I've read fairly recently here at Paradigm is The Lonesome Gods by Louis L'Amour. I can't say it's my favorite book. I really don't know what my favorite book would be. But The Lonesome Gods is a really fantastic book that talks a lot about it's a coming of age story, and it's one of the best I've ever read. It's a Western novel in its genre, and that kind of turned me off from it initially. But as I read it, I found that it was something that was a lot deeper than that. It wasn't your typical kind of like macho shoot-up novel.
Yeah.
It was something that explored themes of like human development and learning and education, and also standing up for what's right. And I thought that was a really beautiful theme to be found.
Nice. I love that.
Why are those themes beautiful to you?
I think at the age I'm at, I mean, as a teenager, development is something that I have to think about a lot whether or not I like it. But human development in general has always fascinated me. I really appreciate the growth and the learning that people can make, and I appreciate so much the potential for growth that people have. In the Paradigm Declaration, we have a line that says something about respecting the nobility in every person. I probably should know a little better by now, but I don't.
I honor the nobility in every person.
Yeah,
See the true, the good, and the beautiful.
you've got it.
Yeah. Something like that.
And I truly appreciate the nobility in every person. And so when I get to hear these narratives about people growing and learning and interacting with problems that I could interact with too, even though it's maybe not the same as, surviving in the middle of a Utah desert as in Lonesome Gods. There are other problems in that book that are real and things that I experience. So that's why I appreciate those themes. I love hearing about growth.
I love that. I have a question that's not part of that. Are we also doing a little bit of interview for you because you're leaving, but also we know you kind of ish?
Yeah, I don't know. This is whatever we want it to be. So, Michael, do you want to interrogate me also?
Yeah, we can take
Yeah.
turns interrogating because this is a goodbye, Daniel,
And a hello.
and a
Michael.
hello, Michael. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hi.
So long, farewell. It's sad to see you go. Something like that.
We
Adieu.
should sing this song
Adieu.
in 3-part harmony.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
So long.
I can't remember the first thing. Okay,
farewell.
it's so long.
It's
Farewell.
sad to see you go.
I'm really
Adieu.
sad to see you go down.
Adieu. To you and
What
you
is
and you.
Okay, now we recreate the entirety of the Sound of Music.
I will be
Never mind. Anyways,
all of them.
Daniel interrogation
I will be all
time.
12 children. Are they 12? 9?
You're
Something.
all 12.
No.
I mean, we were talking about Linus the other day, and she could play every single
Yes,
Linus
we
character
decided it.
Okay, let's get back on topic.
Anyways,
You gotta
okay.
keep us on topic.
That was out of the
You
question.
can just say it.
Not out of the question.
So,
That was
Back
out of
to
the. Yeah, no.
Daniel interrogation time.
Yeah, so we want to hear a little bit from Daniel as well, since he's sadly leaving us, and we want to. I was gonna say memoir. That's not what it is.
Whoop-de-doo. I never had an actual introduction either.
It's true.
Yeah,
This is your introduction
just
and your
here.
outro. Outroduction.
Yeah.
It's an obituary.
Outroduction.
Not
Oh.
quite. This is a little bit dark,
A little
but
bit longer.
so let's move on to Daniel now.
Podcast
Yeah.
guy.
So Daniel, has there been a duck? Daniel, has there been a book that you've experienced at Paradigm, or maybe a discussion of a book or something like that? Or heck, it could be one you've talked about on the podcast.
Could be.
Oh, it'd be pretty rad.
That would be. I've talked about a lot on this podcast.
It's true.
I've been here longer than everyone in this room.
It's true.
I started this podcast.
It's true. And you
Straight
haven't had
from
an
my
introduction
loins.
until now?
Yeah, I never had an
Oh my
introduction.
gosh.
Because I was just a step-in host for when hosts couldn't be there. But then hosts couldn't be there so often that I just became a host.
Yeah.
But also producer and editor.
Yeah. You do too much.
So I did everything.
step back.
But now it's time for Michael to come in.
Without
Yes.
Daniel, none of us would be here in this room today.
Amen. Let's just
Actual,
all have a
actually.
round of applause. All of you listeners in your individual homes listening to this, or cars. I don't know where
We'll
you're
give you space to
Yeah.
I
clap.
would clap, but I think I would
Uh,
confuse the
Probably.
editors.
Yeah.
Minute of silence for clapping at
There we
home.
go.
My attention span isn't that long.
Oh
So
my goodness.
Michael's the kind of guy that loses at the quiet game. That's something
Uh-huh.
we learned now.
Yeah.
Let's
The
not
attention
hold that
span
to
of a
test.
goldfish and the emotional capacity of a carrot.
I think now that we've rambled on, connected a little bit, I think
Yeah.
we're close enough to get ready to start our discussion. So let's
Yeah.
jump into that. Michael, what is it that you want to be talking about today?
Something I've been thinking about a lot lately is living life with a full-blooded passion. I love life, but sometimes I forget that. I get caught up in the little things, the details. I think that's something that a lot of us often struggle with.
Mhm.
And I'd love to take a minute to discuss and kind of recenter on life, why it's great, how we can enjoy it
No, but
in all
that's
its greatness.
definitely applicable for a lot of the people who listen to our podcast
We'll
right
be
now,
saying
because
just
for many
a
people who
little
are in
moment,
school at the moment,
Yeah,
it is
not even
mid-semester. There's a whole lot of burnout. We're all kind of ready to move on with our year, get to the summer, or at least spring. My goodness, the snow recently. But I think that we all need to kind of take a step back and realize why we're doing things and what we enjoy. I know that I personally am kind of. Sorry. Anyways.
Talking
That
about
was-
burnout,
yeah.
I'm just gonna take
Anyways.
that right off and take
Yeah, no.
a train of thought. So I was editing the podcast last night. It was the poetry episode, so it came out today. But when people hear this, it'll be like
Yeah, it'll be in like
2 weeks ago.
2
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah.
So like, I guess I'll say 2 weeks ago.
A
this
thing of the
episode came
past.
out, you know. And I was getting frustrated with it. I got home and I was like, I just gotta finish this tonight. And I just like laid in bed and was like, wow, I really don't want to do anything except sleep, eat, drink water, you know, just do the basic things. You know?
Right.
I didn't want to do anything else, and I was feeling so burnt out. I was like, I've done so much this week, and I'm just tired. I'm ready for bed at like 3:00.
Right.
And it was just annoying, and like I edited the podcast with a terrible mindset. Like every little thing that I mean, it's just my job, but I had to edit out things, and I was like, why did that happen? Like,
My bad.
somebody was just, you know, they just stumbled on the words for a second, and I got angry, and I was like, this is so stupid. Why can't you just talk? Like, why can't you just talk like a normal person? And I realized at like 12:30, maybe 1:00 in the morning, I was like, maybe this wasn't the best mindset to have while going into something that I actually enjoy doing, you know?
Right.
Because it wasn't, like, I enjoy editing, and I enjoy being on the podcast and things like that, and I was being frustrated at what I love doing because of external stress and things that didn't necessarily apply to the thing that I loved, you know? And so,
Right.
yeah.
I think one of the interesting words that you said was mindset. That burnout affects your mindset so bad, and it's so crazy. Because I've noticed the same things in my life. You know, whenever I'm doing things, even if I care about them, or if I'm with people that I care about, because I'm so focused on stress, and I'm so focused on all the assignments I have to do and all the crazy things that I'm in the middle of, and I probably haven't slept enough because I was doing homework or whatever, I start to get really irritable, and I get angry, and I get frustrated, and I don't have a very scholarly or beautiful or happy, pleasant mindset. And I think not only is that interesting because it affects me, but it also affects the people around me, you know? And burnout is, I forgot what word I was going to use, so I'm not going to use it, never mind. But I ended my thought a couple seconds ago. It's gone now.
So, burnout is something that is really difficult to deal with, and it's difficult to begin to deal with it. I think, like you were saying, Daniel, at the point of burnout, you're just too exhausted to even do anything about it.
Amen.
It's beyond difficult. But we can start not by tackling all of the little details. Like Helen was saying, it may have to do with not getting enough sleep, not eating enough, not drinking enough. There are so many things that could contribute to our current burnout. But what we first have to tackle is our mindset and how we're going to approach burnout.
Right.
It's the most difficult part, but it's the most important.
For sure. I had a discussion a while back, and I think, Daniel, you were in this discussion.
Probably.
But we were talking about Anatomy of Peace, which is one of my all-time favorite books. If you haven't read it, please go read it because it's beautiful. But we ended up starting to talk about burnout and about mindset and about how that kind of affects people. And it was really interesting to see De Bono come up with kind of an equation for burnout and like how we actually go into burnout, how we can prevent it or how it happens. And I believe he ended up saying that it was, oh goodness, do you remember this discussion?
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's
I'm going to plug in right now. I believe it's our second episode, Camp Mariah. We went over this. So if you haven't heard that yet, go back and listen to that so you can get a kind of basis of what we're talking about. But basically, when people work hard, they need some type of fulfillment, you know? And especially with seniors, I can see it a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Turning in assignments and things just aren't fulfilling, you know?
Right.
Like, and it's
senioritis.
I mean,
Yeah.
It definitely is senioritis. And I used to think senioritis was just like
I did too.
wanting to
And then
ditch
I
school.
experienced
And then
it.
like, you know, it's actual burnout because you're not being fulfilled with the things you're doing, you know?
Right.
People work hard to work hard, but also there's a level of fulfillment when you work hard. But when you're working hard and there's no appreciation for the things you're doing and you're just working your butt off, you know, and that's where burnout comes, you know? And so this is what I was experiencing the other night was I've been working my butt off and I feel like nobody actually appreciated what I was doing. And so I was just angry at the world.
I appreciate you, Daniel.
I know. And like, I know people appreciated me for the things that I was doing, but I was
There's a difference between knowing it and having it actually
exactly.
happen.
Like it's like the whole idea of like apologizing versus changing your actions.
Amen.
Know? You can apologize without changing your actions, and that's not a real apology.
No.
But if you apologize and then change your actions, you know.
Right.
So it's really, in the end, it's the action that helps people not burn out. And I think it's crazy that it takes people to lift up people.
Right.
You know, and there's a huge mindset going around in media and stuff like that. Like, you need to be the one fulfilling yourself, right? You need to be the one working hard. You need to be the one lifting up yourself, you know? And I think there is some truth to that. You should be able to, you know, congratulate yourself and love yourself and, you know, well, I don't know.
Right.
Just be the person that you want to be, right?
But also, humans need connection. And Marcus was talking about this in the poetry episode. He's like,
Also
and I
mental
mean,
health.
he's kind of a crazy guy, I'll admit it, but he's got a great idea that everybody is just one energy, you know? And I don't necessarily believe that, but I can see it, you know?
Right.
And so if my energy's off because I'm working hard and like drained, you know, my energy's drained, and somebody else is also being like, oh wow, I don't appreciate it or anything like that, it doesn't actually help their energy, you know?
No.
Because we're all one energy. And so by me, like, let's say Michael's working his butt off with the Cinderella play, right? And he's like, I don't want to do this anymore because nobody actually appreciated it. Yeah, exactly.
No, I would have died.
But like, it's easier for Michael to go through the Cinderella play if everybody's like, oh my gosh, Michael, you're doing so good. Like, I've seen where you were when you started and look at where you are now, and you just get excited with them and for what they're working for, you know? And like, you can do that with yourself, but when it's with other people, it's so much more satisfying, right? And I love hanging out with people and just talking about their accomplishments.
Right. Oh, it's great.
And that's how you love life, I think.
And you get to see the expression on their faces. And they love it.
Exactly.
There's nothing more beautiful than a genuine smile. I love being able to talk to people and talk to them about things that they are passionate about and just listen sometimes. Or sometimes it's validating and saying, you know, you did a great job, but being able to acknowledge what they've done.
Right.
Because otherwise I feel like this is a really interesting thing. I feel like I do a lot of stuff and I do it and then it kind of stays by myself.
Right.
And it's a piece of my soul that I want to share.
Yeah.
So whether that be through validation or just being able to talk to somebody or something like that, otherwise it just stays inside me and I don't feel like I'm doing anything with it. You know, I don't feel like it's worth it. Whereas if I'm able to share it and if I'm able to let people see the hard work that I've done, then that is where I feel fulfilled.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, I mean, just running through a scenario, if I was like, I don't know how to say this, but if I was just in passing, I was like, oh, good job, Kellen, with the play, you know? You did a great Cinderella, and then I just walked away, you know? You're like, oh, cool, yeah, I did that. But if I was like, Kellen, Cinderella, like, it gets you hyped up, and you love it. You start loving the thing that you did, you know? You start loving yourself more.
Right.
because of the thing you did.
Yeah,
That's-
and although like validation, you could say, is a form of gratitude. And I was reading a study the other day about gratitude, and gratitude is something that works wonders for other people. And it's always good to express gratitude, and like we were saying, is see how wonderful it makes them feel, and how much they appreciate themselves and the world around them. But it also helps us. Expressing gratitude for other people is something that it gives us more of an appreciation for the people in the world around us
Right.
when we make a conscious effort to recognize them.
Same thing with service. I mean, a lot of people talk about how service, yes, affects the people you're serving, but a lot of the time it can affect the person serving the other person. Wow, the person doing the serving. There we go. It can affect the person doing the serving more than it affects the person being served, because there's that fulfillment of being able to acknowledge other people and to help other people and have that connection.
I think what's interesting is we're touching on how to live life to the fullest, and everything we have said has not been inward. It has always been about somebody else.
That's really interesting.
You know?
Although it's inward in part as well.
Right, there needs to be a balance.
The gratitude and we've been talking about, I think that's a lifestyle. And I think it's the lifestyle of living life to the fullest. Because when you're truly grateful, then you're not taking anything for granted. You're appreciating the life you have. And you're living the moment. That's living life to the fullest.
Right, being aware of the now but I think that also not just the now but the whole simultaneously, having a balance of being present while still understanding that there's more than just the present, you know. I think that a lot of the time a lot of stress comes from people just focusing on, oh my gosh, this one assignment is so big and scary and it's the end of the world. The world looks the same before and after you turn in your assignment, no matter what grade you get on it. But we need to be able to
be grateful never changes.
right, but we need to be appreciative. We need to be grateful for the moment and be able to be present and aware of what's going on, as well as looking at the bigger picture and being present and aware and understanding that there is a future that is affected by your current actions. And whether that be, I want to impact the future by doing good things now, or I want to, impact the people around me. But there needs to be that balance of seeing outside, inside, and all around.
And that's one reason why I'm stepping down from hosting.
Amen.
Because I noticed that it was an inward thing that I needed to, step back from so that my life could be more fulfilled, I think.
Right.
And I feel like I've been needing that for a while, but I've just been ignoring it, But now that it's like real and happening, and I see Michael here and he's doing such a great job.
Amen.
I'm like I feel so much happier now being able to just let this go.
Right.
And I mean, I'm still going to be a part of the podcast in a way, but I'm not going to be on the podcast, if that makes sense. But it's fulfilling.
That's really interesting because I feel like a lot of the time, whether it be a pressure from inside or outside, we always feel like we have to be the best and we have to do everything. I know I am a person that feels that way a lot of the time. But that's not how you get fulfillment. You don't get fulfillment by loading your plate with too much and then getting stressed about it and then getting focused and scared and end of the world, whatever. You are fulfilled through doing things well. Yeah. And I think that if there's anything, honestly, and I know it's not time for takeaway yet, but if there's anything that you take away from this episode, learn how to cut things out of your life. Learn how to cut toxic people, learn how to cut too many assignments, learn how to cut the classes that you don't need, and make sure that your life is full of things that you're genuinely enjoying, instead of things that you think may or may not make you successful. Because your success is your happiness, not your GPA, not your amount of classes, not the difficulty of the classes. Your success is your growth. Your success is your joy. Your success is the connections that you're making.
Living a fulfilling life it's not something that's always going to be enjoyable. There's a lot of sacrifice involved, and I think we've touched on that. It's a difficult thought to accept sometimes that to live a better life, we have to feel pain. But pain always accompanies change, and change is what leads us to greater, better things.
Ease isn't always good, and you can't appreciate the bad times you can't appreciate the good times without the bad times, goodness. There has to be a contrast in life, and you have to be able to experience the deep, dark lows of stress and anxiety, etc., to be able to appreciate the times when you do feel fulfilled and when you feel at peace and when you feel calm and happy and connected.
I think another thing is inviting others to do the thing you love to do. Does that make sense? Because, you find fulfillment in something, and somebody else might too,
Right.
And I've noticed that a lot with this, is being like, hey, you should be on the podcast, because it's fun, And Jake took that so well. And today, while we were setting up, I was like, hey, Jake, you're in charge, you're a producer, like, tell me what you need. I stepped back 100% from this episode. And I was like, you're in charge. And he was like, go set up the computers. And I was so happy to go set up the computers. I was like, yes, Jake, like, let's go. And I'll set up the computers. You get the mic stands. Like, you tell me what to do. And it was so cool to see Jake step up. And by me allowing him to step up, I could have easily been like, okay, Jake, go set up the computers. But I was like, Jake, tell me what to do. And he told me to set up the computers. And I was like, yeah. Okay,
Go Jake.
I will do this. This is like, and like letting Michael host has been the same way. We did we recorded an episode together that won't come out for a little while, but as he was hosting, I was like, man, Michael, you are such a cool dude. And I was like,
I know, right?
It was so cool to like see him step into this role. And like, I don't know, I'm just talking about myself a lot, but I'm like seeing myself living a fulfilling life right now by stepping back from things, It's crazy.
That is entirely true, though. I think that one of the things that I found is, it's fulfilling to do things well, but more fulfilling than that is to be able to guide someone and help them grow and watch them progress as they become a successful person themselves. Which again, it goes back to the, looking outward. Like, it's one thing that, I'm a host on a podcast, it's cool, and I love this so much, it's fantastic. But more than that, I love being able to see the other people come on, or host. Guests. Sometimes we'll have guests come on, and they'll be like, I've never done this before, I don't know what I'm doing, whatever. But, they know the topic that we're talking about, and we'll be able to get into the episode, and I get to see them really getting in and getting excited and discussing and learning to kind of work with the mic and work with the conversation. And in every aspect of my life that I've been able to lead, the most fulfilling thing is the connections with the people that you get to help progress and grow.
Earlier we talked about Mr. Barf's idea of everybody's like collective energy.
Right.
And I think this idea of seeing other people grow and deriving joy from that is, I think, representative of that idea. It lifts the energy of the whole.
Right. And actually that goes right back to, what I said earlier about one of the most beautiful things is somebody's genuine smile. Because when you're seeing people who do what they love, and when you're talking to people about their achievements, and when you can see that somebody else is genuinely happy, that is such a great, beautiful, fulfilling experience to know that. And sometimes it's when you've impacted that, but heck, even just when, you have a friend who did something that you had nothing to do with, and they're just like, I want to tell you about this thing because I'm excited, it's beautiful. And I think that part of the reason it's so great and so fulfilling is because it inspires that connection. And we talked about in both Barfus's episode and that mental health episode is connection is essential. We have to learn how to have these beautiful connections with other people. And I think a lot of that comes from discussing growth.
Well, and going back to that connection episode with Dead Poets Society, I loved that movie so much.
It's so good.
It did. And, whatever, I forget the teacher's name every time. But
Something like that. Keating?
Yeah, Keating. I don't know. I might be mixing it up because there's
Mr. Dudesser.
Mr. Dudesser, that's played by
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams.
I love him.
He And like I talked about this scene in the other episode too, but when he got the shy kid to get up there and be like, express yourself, get out there,
Right.
It's not about you.
It's not.
It's about like what I don't know. It's not about. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about his fear. It wasn't about his shyness. It was about letting go.
Right.
And by letting go, you connect.
Right.
Because we can talk about mental health all we want, and there's going to be people out there who are like, oh yeah, I struggle with that too, but they won't go and tell anybody, right? And so they'll be struggling in silence, and they'll be able to connect to this episode, but then they're not connecting to actual real life people,
Right.
And so they need like the ability to let go and to open up yourself to other people and to connect. Also, I think is the fulfillment in life,
Connection is something that I've absolutely been craving lately.
Amen. Especially with, oh my gosh, COVID. So bad.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, I love people. I love talking to people. I enjoy small talk and just getting to know people, see how they're doing. But there's nothing quite like having a deep, passionate discussion about a topic that either somebody that one of the people loves and the other person seeks to understand, or something that both people love, or just something that they're grappling with, something it's a real struggle. In Dead Poets Society, in every scene where Robin Williams' character is teaching, there's some type of emotion in everything he does. I think it inspires his students. When we see somebody else feeling and struggling, it inspires us to find that humanity in ourselves. It's an incredible experience to see somebody else discovering things and to discover it or rediscover it along with them.
I love that. I had a really awesome experience. I guess now it will be a couple weeks ago when this episode is coming out, but I had a really beautiful experience a couple weeks ago when I had a chance to see a friend I hadn't seen in a couple years. They were serving in a religious capacity where they couldn't come to visit, and I was able to go and kind of talk to them a little bit, and I ended up talking to their brother for like 2 hours, and then I talked to them for like 2 hours, and I hadn't expected to stay at their house for very long. I was going to go for a couple minutes and say hi. But I ended up just kind of getting into this conversation. And suddenly it was 2 hours later, and then I got into a different conversation, and suddenly it was 2 hours later. And it was so interesting to see when I went in, because I've been tired, I had a lot of stuff to do, and I had a bunch of assignments, whatever. I went in there saying, I'm going to say hi and leave. But once I was able to find that beautiful connection and engage in the great conversation or ideas about beautiful topics that I hadn't even discussed in a while. We talked about like government and intent and like a bunch of really crazy books, some of which we read and some of which we hadn't. It was awesome. But afterwards, I felt so much better about life, and it wasn't tired anymore, even though all I'd done was like sit on the couch and talk, And so it's so good to find that connection and be open. I think that for me personally, a lot of the time I'm like, I have a tight schedule, I need to do these things, I need to go, I gotta go, go mode. But for everybody out there who is like me, and always has schedules planned out, whatever, be open to being flexible and having conversations and connecting with random people. Heck, if it's a stranger on the bus somewhere, I don't know, have those conversations because they are fulfilling. Because it's connection. It's beautiful, deep understanding.
Connection is inspiring. It's revitalizing.
Honestly.
And yeah, don't wait for that to just happen to you.
Amen.
Go out and look for it. Connect with anyone. Because when you seek to connect with someone, they might not be looking for it, and it will inspire them and lift them. And it will inspire them to go interact with other people and connect with them. And it creates this kind of circle of connection, right?
Right.
Where everybody is lifted up because we were willing to simply discuss, to engage in a great conversation
Right.
with the people around you.
Yeah. There are tons of small things that we can do. You know, there's opening doors for people, smiling at people, and having those conversations. But I think that that's really where the fulfillment comes. Yes, we need to be aware of what we're doing. We need to be aware of burnout. We need to be aware of validation and fulfillment. But to have that balanced lifestyle, we have to start with the small connections. We have to start with talking to people. We have to start with the little things that make the big fulfillment happen, you know? And it's not going to happen overnight, but it is really beautiful to see that growth through the small connections. Unfortunately, we are out of time. This has been a really awesome discussion, and I've loved being able to talk to both of you. I've known you both for very, very long. Well, I've known Michael for a little bit less time, but it's
A lot less time.
a lot bit less time. It works. Anyways, I've known both of you for a while, and I have had a wonderful time being able to connect with both of you and learn a little bit more about both of you. We're really excited to have Michael on the podcast as a host from now on, and we're sad to see Daniel go, but we're also happy to see him kind of look for some more fulfillment in his life and look for more of a balance. That'll be
He's
great.
going to do so many incredible things.
Amen. Amen and hallelujah. What a man.
He speaks.
Thank you.
He is one of the coolest people I know, I must say.
My cry.
You can, I mean, we already cried this episode. You can cry again.
But I might actually.
More tears. No.
More tears.
Genuinely,
Less
yeah. No, but I have loved this episode. I think that it's inspired me to make changes in my life and to be more assertive, to find connection. I know that, especially with our times with COVID and various quarantines or things being online or things like that, it's hard to find the genuine connection. So I personally am going to go out and I'm going to look for those conversations. And I ask you listeners to do that as well because it's fulfilling. Like I said, we're so grateful for all of the hosts on this podcast at the moment. We're excited to see more from Michael. He's been absolutely fantastic. And we really are. We're sad to see Daniel go. Because it has been amazing, and we're grateful for all the incredible insights that you've been able to bring us.
Like we were saying in the beginning, this podcast, it started with Daniel.
Right.
And
Now I'm
the
gonna cry.
podcast is going along with Daniel, I think.
Right. It's morphed and changed and grown in a really beautiful way. I know that I saw it originally, and I was like, that would be a cool thing, but it's become a part of my life that really enriches me. In so many ways.
These
So.
great conversations, and he's
Exactly.
created that connection and circle.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, Daniel.
Yeah.
Quick story time. This podcast, we had one microphone for our first episode. One microphone. It was with Mr. Seminary, our principal. Go listen to that episode. It was my first one I ever edited. It's as raw as it's gonna get, you know, in all of these episodes. And you know, thinking to this moment now where we have a sound treated room, we have enough microphones for each of us, you know, enough computers for each of us, and everything like that. I might cry. And I'm not even leaving the podcast. I'm still producing.
It's just
This is the precursor to graduation.
Oh, stop. No.
It's been beautiful. And I'm so glad to see where it's gone. And my little child has grown so much. And so before we end this episode, we do a takeaway and challenge. And Michael, if you could do a takeaway, and then if I can do a challenge,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
I would like
please
to
do.
challenge us. Michael, go ahead with the takeaway.
In this podcast, we've talked about how one can become truly fulfilled in their life. We've talked about having a good attitude. We've talked about having connection. In all of these things, there's so much to be learned. And I hope we conveyed a little bit of that.
I want to challenge these listeners from specifically this episode, but also kind of combining every single episode previous, except the April Fool's episode. That one does not count. But that one we'll have another one.
We don't talk about
another one coming up. That's
Yeah, it's gonna be
some
exciting.
precursors of that.
Bless your souls.
But I challenge the listeners to do something. To take an action. You know, find themselves and then share with the world. You know? I've shared myself through this podcast. I've shared who I am and shared with my heart, you know? And that's really what life is about. If we were meant to live lives without connection, we probably would. But I don't think it would be as good as the life that we can live now. And so, do something. You know? Be who you are. Don't be afraid. Be who you are. And most importantly, just connect with people. You know? Connect with people in any way that you can. There's hundreds of ways, thousands, billions maybe, of ways you can connect with people. And you just gotta do something about it, you know? Take an action. So, that's my challenge. Do something.
Amen. I love that. Yeah. Thanks again to both of you for coming on the podcast. This has been a really, really awesome episode. I know that it's impacted me personally. And thank you again to our listeners for hanging on this long. We really do appreciate your support.
This is the last time we're going to do this.
In theory.
In theory. Hopefully.
Cross your
That's the
fingers.
plan.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening to my last episode. And to Michael's, not first one, but his intro. If you could rate us 5 stars on iTunes, that would help a whole lot for the algorithm. We have a question and answer on Spotify, so if you could answer that, if you have any episode ideas, that'd be much appreciated. If you want to get in contact with us, you can email us at podcast@paradigmhigh.org, or you can DM us on Instagram @theparadigmpod. Thank you guys so much for listening, and keep engaging. And keep engaging in the great conversation.
I'm gonna cry.